Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're listening to this. This is Coffee with Kevin, and I am Kevin Martin, mindset coach, author, trainer, lots of things, but more importantly, on this show, this is my coffee. Mm, I hope you have a nice hot cup of coffee with you, a cup of tea, whatever it is that you're drinking. I want to wish you a wonderful day. Speaking of today, you might notice there's something a little different about me today. Yes, today I've got this thing on my head. It's Cinco de Mayo, is my little Mexican sombrero, which I may not have on my head the entire time because it is not comfortable, but that's all right. Just for the first few minutes, welcome, welcome, welcome. Cinco de Mayo today, the 5th of May. A lot of people think, well, why are we celebrating Cinco de Mayo? Matter of fact, the Americans' celebration, nationally at least, didn't really happen until the 80s of last century. Um, but it celebrates the win of Mexico over the French in 1862. So that's what today is. So yeah, it's a celebration of it. There's a lot of Mexican restaurants having celebrations around here. If you like Mexican food, definitely go out and enjoy some today. It would be wonderful on Cinco de Mayo. I am going to take this hat off though and talk to you more today in my book. We are on chapter 7. We're getting through this book. Only a few more weeks, I guess. Chapter 7, which says personal growth. Well, I don't know if you can see that. Um, and I talk about a lot of things in there, not just, around personal growth, but really around how you can build yourself up by doing things like stepping out of your comfort zone and all that. It's about having a growth mindset. I've talked about mindset many times in the past. They're basically two mindsets, a growth and a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset says, hey, I'm really wonderful the way I am, and I don't want to try anything new. I don't want to need to learn anything new. Well, let me tell you, a fixed mindset in this day and age of AI, where AI is actually taking over lots of jobs and all sorts of things. And if you don't have AI, sorry about that. If you don't have a knowledge of AI, you're going to be left behind. So just there, you need to grow in that way. I've got my I got my notes on the side today. So I want to talk about we certain people out there, not certain people, but some of us. We like to, we're comfortable. We don't want to get out of our comfort zone. We don't want it. We like complacency, right? But that's like stagnant water. Stagnant water goes bad, gets all sorts of germs because there's nothing flowing in it. There's nothing flowing in it. And we don't want to be that stagnation of inactivity, of not being able to grow. Um, it's, basically it's a comfort zone trap. You know, I, you know, I love being in my comfort zone. I really do. But if I stay in my comfort zone all the time, I don't grow. I don't progress. My business doesn't grow. If I had stayed in my comfort zone all my life, or at least tried to stay in it as much as I could, unless I was forced out of it, I wouldn't have had several businesses. I probably wouldn't have the kids I have. Hey, who knows? I might not even have met my wife because it takes you out of the comfort zone to go meet somebody, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's see what we have on today so far. I got a couple of people on. Angel. How are you? Good morning. Good morning, Brenda Martin as well. That's the wife I was talking about. Had I not wanted to leave my comfort zone or had I not gone out, not that I wanted to, sometimes we just need to. We push ourselves to get out of our comfort zone. I wouldn't have talked to her, I wouldn't have called her. So, yeah, I wouldn't might not be married. I definitely wouldn't have the kids I have. I definitely wouldn't have had the businesses and the experience that I have today. So it is a trap when we stay in there, when we remain in there and remain unchanged years down the line. I met this became a friend of mine many, many years ago. And it was a fairly young kid, but he had been working in the same job. It was almost an assembly job for years, and he loved it. He had the same friends for years, went to the same bar for years, did the same thing for years, unchanged. He didn't mind it. He didn't mind it. He just loved doing that. But after several years, it came to the point where he didn't have any more skills. He didn't have many more connections. And so he needed to throw himself outside of his comfort zone and start doing things. And yeah, we find ourselves like that when we don't grow. When we don't grow. I talk about growth. I actually quote Tony Robbins with growth and saying, okay, if we're like plants. If we're not growing, we're dying. And it's the same thing with that is the thing with plants. If they're not growing, they end up dying. Plants will get to a certain level and then stop and then die. We don't want to do that. We don't die, but we die inside. Who we are, what our opportunities are, what our abilities are, capabilities are, they die. There is a why of change. External circumstances really change unless you change yourself first, right? So a lot of times, even though we don't change ourselves, we want things to get better. We want things to progress. We want people to get better. But if we don't bother changing ourselves, why should we expect anything else to change? I haven't heard this in years, but I got into the software industry many, many moons ago. And when I was learning software, we had this term garbage in, garbage out. Because when you put input into your software, and it's the same thing like on a phone, you got an app and it asks you for things about you. Say you got a weight loss app or a health tracking app, and it asks things about you, and you don't bother to make it correct. You don't bother to check your height or your weight. Um, you don't bother with any of the stats that it's asking you. That's garbage in. So when you want help from it, when you want it to track things and give you probabilities and stuff like that, it's going to have garbage out too. Garbage in, garbage out. The same thing applies to us as human beings. What's coming in, the input is our experiences, our experiences and interactions with other people, what we read, what we expose ourselves into, to on a daily basis. The news, everything else. That's our input. And the same thing like programming. If there's garbage in, meaning there's nothing healthy there for us, then garbage out. Now, what's garbage out for us as human beings? That's the way we act, the way we react, the way we talk, the way we communicate, the things we do. That is the output. So if we have garbage in, we're going to have garbage out. And we don't want garbage out. We want a good output. We want to excel, don't we? Don't we want to get better? Don't we want to have better relationships, have more success in all parts of our lives? Well, if we have garbage coming in, we're going to have garbage coming out. So I love that. I still love computers. I still do a lot of things, but it's a great analogy for us. You want to elevate your input. If you read or listen to books, try listening to more nonfiction books and biographies. That's something really quality, something that actually help you grow, right? And it's also part of our intake is the people around us. I love the saying, and I thought about it and I saw how true this is. You know, 5 years from now, you're going to have the average income of the five people around you, the five closest people around you. 5 years from now, you're going to be doing very similar things of the average of the closest five people around you. Do you want to associate with, if you're not associating with really healthy, goal oriented, success oriented people, you won't be goal oriented or success oriented 5 years from now. You may be stagnant, and you don't want that. You don't want that. I talk about all of this in the seventh chapter of my book, Positivity as a Filter. I talk about positivity a lot throughout the entire book because I believe in that. I believe that you should be more positive than you are negative. And by the way, the negativity overruns the positivity anyway. So you need to be a lot more positive than you are negative. And people think, okay, we used to have this term rose colored glasses, meaning that's all you see. That's not quite it, but it's all you want to have going through you. You don't want the negativity coming out. And when I say negativity, I mean pure. Cautious things is fine, right? You want to be cautious. You don't want to get rid of that. That's the rose colored glasses. You see everything positive, you don't see anything coming. That's not true. That's not it that I'm talking about. I'm talking about being much more positive in your life, paying attention to the positive things. Often we neglect the little positive things. We don't even we take them for granted. That's what we do. And the negative things, well, tend to hang on to those. We tend to see those more and more. The more of the negative that we let in, the more negative we see. Same thing for the positive. The more positive we let in, the more positive we see. And I'd much rather have that positivity. I do some exercises and train my students. There's something called applied kinesiology, and applied kinesiology shows us when there's negativity in our body, our muscles are weak. When there's positivity in our body, our muscles are strong. When there's positivity in our body's strong. And not just in muscles. And when there's negativity in our body becomes weak. And it's not just the muscles. I'd much rather, when people who are very around negative atmosphere, environments, and are very negative themselves, they get sick a lot. Most of them do because their bodies are weaker. I'd much rather be that person who wants to have more positivity in my life. In the chapter, I talk about language. Now, I am a language prude. People who know me really closely know that I do not like foul language. And I was really, really stern on that in the house. I probably could count on my fingers how many times I've used the F word in a really bad way, especially how many times I've used the F word in the home. And people say, well, your kids are going to hear it at school. Well, you know what happened to my kids? My kids, when they're talking to me, when they're talking to me and their mom and they're around us, they don't use that word. And if it slips, they apologize. Now I know they use it. I know they use it. All right. Fantastic response. You know, for many years before I started doing this, I was into motivation. And one of the things I learned is when someone asks me how I'm doing, most of the time, 90% of the time, unless I'm off guard, I'll say something like, fantastic, I'm doing great. And you know when I'm not doing great, and I've seen this many times when I'm not doing great and I say, I'm doing great, all of a sudden I start feeling better. So that response is for you, but it also for most people, when they hear such a positive response, it helps them feel a lot more positive as well. So yeah, that's the kind of thing in chapter 7 I talk about. If you're interested in doing a deeper dive, living your dream life simply by changing your perceptions by Kevin Martin. Look up Kevin Martin, Living Your Dream Life on Amazon. You will find it both in book and in ebook. Yes. All right. Well, let's get to our quotes for this. First quote here, and it's I love the author here, Robert Schuller. I used to listen to him. There's a lot of quotes because not only was he religious, he was a personal growth expert and a business growth expert. He helped lots of people in business. He said the business of expanding your consciousness, it's not an option. Either you're expandable or you're expendable. And then talking about in your career, in your business, and sometimes even in your relationships. I love this quote. Either you're expandable or you're expendable when it comes to expanding your consciousness. Now, you are the same today. That's our next quote. You're the same today that you are going to be 5 years from now, except for two things: the people with whom you associate with and the books that you read. You're the same today that you are going to be 5 years from now, except for two things. So those two things are going to be the difference: the people you associate with and the books you read. I'd want that difference to be much more positive. I want to be much better 5 years from now. People who look that far ahead in their goals, they know that in order to reach their goals, they need to change. They form a plan in which they learn, in which they connect with the right people. If you don't have the power to change yourself, then nothing will change around you. Anwar Sadat, he knew, and like many others, is that change starts here. And that change is the change you want. That's a positive change. I've talked a lot about how to change. That change doesn't come by staying in your comfort zone. When you sell a man a book, I love this one. When you sell a man a book, you don't sell him 12 ounces of paper and ink and glue. Of course, this is an older quote. There's other ways to read. You sell him a whole new life. I love that because that talks about books, and that could be any kind of book, right? Because there's some fiction books that are very healthy, they're very good, but nonfiction books and biographies that'll inspire, inspirational books, you sell that person a whole new life because if they read it and take it in the way it's supposed to be taken in, it's amazing. And lastly, Mark Twain, simple quote, and this is how to start doing what you need to do to get that growth. Do something every day that you don't want to do. Do something good every day that you don't want to do, of course. And that's it. That don't want to do is you don't want to do because it gets out of your comfort zone. And sometimes that's getting out of your comfort zone is as simple as I don't want to do it because I'm going to have to get up and get dressed and do this. Do it. Do something every day that you don't want to do. That has been it for today. We're talking about growth. We're talking about having that growth mindset, getting out of your comfort zone. We're talking about bringing good stuff, not garbage, into you so that good stuff comes out of you. That's what we're talking about. So until next week, I hope you have an incredibly phenomenal week. And it's not because I'm wishing it for you. It's because you're in control of doing it for yourself. You're making it yourself. Okay, everyone. Take care and happy Cinco de Mayo.